Bene, grazie per chi è...
Okay, thank you to those of you who've turned up. We wanted to hold this press conference. I'm Oreste Rossi, and I'm the member for the EFD Lega Nord group in the delegation to Iran. And we have Fiorello Provera, who is vice chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. I think you're fully familiar with what we're talking about here. It's the delegation which will be going to Iran from the European Parliament at what we see as being completely the wrong moment in time, because we have a bit of an absolute government in that country then, and 300 plus people were killed as well. So it's an acting death penalty, in other words. And 2 days ago, another 10 people were hung. Now, over the last few days, if I can just add as well, that the for reasons that you're fully familiar with, the EU has done what it's done with the sanctions on Iran. So it seems to us that sending a mission to a country where we don't know what is going to come out of this mission is completely wrong. It's a very serious step. I am convinced that our colleagues will be able to go there, those who are going with the full goodwill. But, you know, the question is, what is going to come out by way of information through the media in those countries, who are going to say exactly what their regime will want, not what will be said by the members of the mission. Now, all the opposition forces that they won't be able to meet, and that is a totally unacceptable limit for the European Parliament. They have been asking us not to go. People who have taken refuge outside Iran, they are asking us not to go there. But the meeting was held today on the links with Iran, and the decision was that this mission should go ahead. The other rather odd thing is that, well, of the 4 plus 1 who was then added, 5 members, well, you're going to have the president representing the Greens, the vice chairman, second vice chairman representing GUE, another representing the Greens, and 2 representing S&D. So clearly, this is, you know, a delegation which I would say is coming from one side of Parliament. Now, our traditional allies have asked not to take part and asked for President Schulz to intervene as well. But what came out of today's meeting was that we asked for, it was a call for a letter of accompaniment from the President of the European Parliament, from President Schulz, in other words. So all I wanted to say is that we think what is happening is an absolute scandal, running the risk of legitimizing what's being said in Iran these days, you know, sending an official, formal European Parliament mission shows that this is legitimate, because if the European Parliament goes as representatives of Europe and the EU, then, you know, it's not true that this is an isolated regime, which is what people are saying. We don't know, as I said, what's going to come out in the media. We're not going to be able to meet the opposition. They are not going to be able to defend or even talk of civil rights, because none of that would come out anyway. And we feel that that is a very, very serious mistake on the back of another serious mistake, which was that we passed an appalling resolution which calls on the European Union to open a representation in Tehran, Iran. And that's, you know, just total madness. That's all I wanted to say. I'm going to hand over now to Fiorello Provera. He is the man who's responsible for foreign affairs. He's vice chairman, as I said beforehand, of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. So he's better versed than I am in what is a very delicate business. Thank you very much indeed. I'd also like to thank all of you here today. An awful lot has already been said by Mr. Rossi. I would like to highlight certain aspects at this stage. Firstly, this is the wrong moment, totally the wrong moment, which has been chosen by the delegation to go and visit Iran, to be in contact with groups from the parliament, or at least some of them, but at the same time also to officially meet people from the institutions. The Minister for Foreign Affairs is going to be meeting with the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs. So this is not just what you could call a parliamentary visit from one parliament to another, in other words. Representatives of the people meeting representatives of the people. There is actually formal contact with political figures and people from the executive, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's a bit of a paradox that this mission is being sent at a moment in time when Europe has decided on sanctions, later sanctions for Iran on the nuclear question, the nuclear weapons, and the development of the Iranian nuclear potential. But Europe's been showing schizophrenic behavior, as has been partly stressed by my colleague Rossi. Basically, you know, you've got the sanctions on the one hand, and then on the other, they're sending a parliamentary delegation. So I think we've got to stress that as well. And the fact, you know, the Iranian government, the Iranian politicians, the fact that they could use this delegation from the European Parliament, using all the means available to the Iranian government and the people in power in that country. I think we should also recall the fact that the Sakharov Prize nominate, lawyer Nasrin Sotoudeh, I apologize for the way I pronounce that name, but she's been tortured and is currently imprisoned. And there, once again, this is someone who, because of their activity on the human rights front, is recognized as deserving of the Sakharov Prize by the European Union. She's been tortured, she's in prison, and we are sending an official delegation. We are allowing an official delegation from the European Parliament to go and visit Iran. Well, another comment I would like to make is that repression is not only political. The Iranian government isn't only persecuting its political opponents. You know, there's a social side to this as well. The most recent example, which comes from just a few days ago, is that we are seeing the whole educational system, the universities in Iran, becoming Islamicized. And it bans access to certain faculties to women. And recently, you can find this on internet as well. I have raised all of these questions. Just an example. The 22nd of October, just a few hours ago, in other words. As I say, on the 22nd, 10 prisoners were condemned to death, and that they were then executed. They had been tortured. Apparently, it was claimed that they'd confessed under torture, and the death sentence was imposed on them, and it's apparently just a few hours ago been actually implemented. So there's a contradiction between the attitude which is being followed by this parliament vis-à-vis human rights and the persecuted minorities in certain ways, and this alibi which is being granted to the Iranian government, if you like, by Europe. As I say, because we're sending an official delegation. I don't want to say anything more. I know there's been dozens and dozens of parliamentary questions raised. Well, there have been threats issued by the Iranian government as well towards the young people, liberal young people, a rapper as well, students who were raising the question of discrimination, particularly against women. persecution of Christians as well. And then Salman Rushdie. This is public knowledge. We should all be aware of it. It's all across websites throughout the world on the various different webs. So these are additional reasons, I think, which should caution against this mission, which I think is an imprudent mission, and I'm really bothered about it. I think that's all I have to say. If there are any questions, we'll be very happy to respond.
Credo che siamo stati molto esaurienti.
I think we've been rather exhaustive on this, and Mr. Rossi was very clear, so thank you all very much indeed, and thank you for being here.